Hey, what's up guys? Dr. Jeremy Landry. Welcome to training number 3, why a low-carb diet is the best diet for weight loss. I don't like diets. My patients hear me say that all the time. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of weird, crazy fad diets, and even some pretty well-known diets that we hear about on TV and social media all of the time. But at the end of the day, diets are not easy to maintain. Keto diet, which we're going to talk a little bit about today, I'm not a fan of the keto diet. It's very hard to do long term. But one common denominator is that when it comes to healthy weight loss, long-term sustainable weight loss, you do have to follow a low-carb diet. Not anti-carb. There are healthy carbs. But you can't eat a ton of carbohydrates and expect to lose a significant amount of weight, especially in a short amount of time. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Really quick though, like always, just a quick disclaimer. I am not your primary care health provider. I know you've heard me say this in the other trainings. Please, my advice does not take the place of your primary care doctor or any of the doctors that you're working with. I do encourage you to take what you're learning from these trainings, run it by your physician, get his or her blessing, and then go from there. But most importantly, always listen to your doctor. These trainings are for entertainment purposes only. So with that out of the way, let me read this quick paragraph on why a low-carb diet. A low-carb diet is one of the most effective ways to lose weight and maintain the weight loss long-term. Cutting back on carbs forces the body to burn fat for fuel instead of glucose, which can lead to significant weight loss. Additionally, low-carb diets can help reduce insulin levels, which can promote fat loss and reduce hunger. Unlike other popular diets that rely on calorie counting, a low-carb diet focuses on the type of food you eat, encouraging the consumption of nutrient-dense whole foods while limiting or avoiding processed foods. The next training, which I'm going to mention here at the end of this training, we'll dive into what I call the 80-20 principle, which allows for some processed food and some of those things you normally would be told not to have on other diet programs, such as alcohol and sweets. But this approach can lead to better overall health, improved mood, sustained energy levels, and research suggests it can help people to maintain weight loss long term. By keeping blood sugar levels stable, low-carb diets help to reduce cravings and maintain a feeling of fullness for longer periods of time, making it easier to stick to the diet in the long run. And so there's one diet that I do wholeheartedly endorse, and it's actually the number one diet in the world. It has been for the past 6 years, and that's the Mediterranean diet, which is a low-carb diet. It has healthy fats, lean protein, veggies, but the Mediterranean diet and a lot of these low-carb diets, you have a feeling of fullness, which just keeps you less hungry throughout the day, and it keeps your overall caloric intake down. And that's where one of the big health benefits come in to the low-carb diets, and then balancing out your blood sugar levels. So you're staying away from the cravings. Keto diet. I wanted to bring up the keto diet. Now, if your primary care doctor has recommended that you do the keto diet, listen to your doctor. There are healthy ways of doing the keto diet. There are a lot of unhealthy ways of doing the keto diet. And I have found more times than not, new patients that have come in and they've done the keto diet, they have done it way incorrectly. And people get the idea that you can live on sticks of butter, plates of bacon, fat bombs, dumping butter in your coffee multiple times per day. And there's some new research that came out within the past few months that finally looked at keto, like with multiple people, and it was double the risk of strokes, double the risk of heart attacks, which as healthcare providers, a lot of us have, assumed that for many years. But here's a little paragraph I put together on keto. So the keto diet, like any restrictive or fad diet, carries potential risks. The most significant risks of the keto diet stem from its high fat content, which has the potential to raise cholesterol levels and lead to cardiovascular disease in some people. And you heard me mention in the last training, heart disease is the number one killer in North America. 1 out of 3 people will die from a heart-related incident. So the diet's high fat intake can also lead to unwanted side effects such as GI upset, constipation, and nutrient deficiencies. The The diet can place an unnecessary burden on the liver and kidneys, and excessively high levels of ketones can cause kidney stones, acidosis, and electrolyte imbalances. Maintaining the diet can be challenging long-term, and strict adherence can lead to social isolation, disordered eating patterns, and a lack of dietary balance. It's important to note that those with pre-existing medical conditions should consult with your doctor before starting the keto diet. It's recommended to undergo the diet under the guidance of a registered dietitian. Most people don't do that. Most people just, follow it the way their best friend did it or their friend's sister's cousin, and they do it incorrectly. And if you're watching this, a lot of you have maybe done the keto diet and you gain weight because of the amount of calories that you were doing, or you lost a significant amount of weight, but you felt pretty miserable, and then the weight rebounded back on almost immediately once you stopped it. So please just stay away from diets in general. But my recommendation is I'm not a big fan of the keto diet. But I did put together the list of the top 5 worst fad diets according to research. Some of these are comical and you would just kind of scratch your head of like, why would you ever do that? But we can get so desperate to lose weight and hit our goals that we do really crazy things. So the cabbage soup diet, a lot of people have heard of that. The cabbage soup diet involves eating large amounts of low-calorie cabbage soup for 7 days while severely restricting calorie intake in an effort to lose weight quickly. It can lead to nutrient deficiency, stomach problems, and fatigue. The grapefruit diet involves eating grapefruit with every meal, severely restricting calorie intake. While grapefruit is a healthy food, this diet is low in essential nutrients and may lead to fatigue and dizziness. And again, any diet that's telling you to just do one certain thing for a long period of time, or even 7 days, but to eliminate all these other things that are typically healthy for you, run away from that stuff. Like anything that's telling you to cut out things indefinitely, run away from it. The baby food diet, this sounds disgusting, but this diet involves eating pureed baby food instead of solid adult food in an effort to control calorie intake. While it may lead to weight loss, it does not provide all the nutrients needed for optimal health and is not sustainable in the long term. Juice cleansing. There's great juice cleanses. I think doing a lot of the veggie juice cleanses has some great benefits, but if you're using a lot of fruit, as I've mentioned before, fruit is significantly high in sugar more times than not. And sugar and carbs at the end of the day are the 2 main culprits for gaining weight and not losing weight. So juice cleansing, I'm not anti-juice cleanse. I think they're good to incorporate from time to time. But when you're doing nothing but juicing for multiple days or multiple weeks, highly not recommended. And then a lot of you might remember, 10 plus years ago, the HCG diet. And some people still do this. And what you would do is either inject yourself with human chorionic gonadotropin hormone, or you would take the drops under the tongue. And Dr. Simeons is the one that created this protocol back in the 60s. But it's supposed to decrease your appetite, and therefore you don't eat as much and you restrict calories. But the HCG diet, you're only doing 500 calories per day. And so people would swear by this because they're losing 20, 30, 40 pounds in a really short amount of time. But because of the 500 calories and they're not eating a lot of protein, most of that weight loss was muscle. They burned some fat and lost some fat, but people were losing a lot of muscle. So you get done with it, and muscle is connected to your metabolism. So all of a sudden the weight rebounds back on to the point where you typically gain more back than what you initially lost. So again, if your doctor has recommended an HCG protocol, listen to your doctor. I would get a second opinion. But HCG, it's not a very popular method anymore. And the government came out and started banning a lot of the HCG products. But injections, I know a lot of places still do them. So what are the biggest health benefits of a low-carb diet? So I put together these top 10 benefits. I'm not going to read the description of all of these, but effective weight loss, improved blood sugar levels, reducing the risk of heart disease, reducing cravings, which is huge for all of us that have the sugar cravings, carb cravings, increasing energy levels, better mental clarity. A lot of times we walk around in this state of, feeling like we're in a fog. We have this brain fog. There are some nice supplements to help with brain fog, but again, going on a low carb, high protein, good healthy fat diet can be beneficial. Reducing inflammation, better skin health, and that's where cleansing is beneficial. The more you can cleanse the body without running to the bathroom, you're getting impurities out of the skin, and that helps with blemishes and acne and psoriasis. Improved digestive health, and then better overall health in general, especially helping the body reduce the risk of developing cancer or other chronic health issues. So what are the top 10 best low carb foods? I'm also, the next training, in this training as well, I'll kind of run you through a common sense way to look at food that's low carb. But I did want to kind of put together this top 10 list. Meat and poultry, beef, chicken, turkey, lamb, it's fantastic, it's low carb. I do want to kind of state a caveat. I would avoid a lot of red meat, pork, lamb, as you're trying to lose the body fat, especially visceral fat, the fat that's around the liver and the kidneys. If you do a lot of red meat, it contributes to that visceral fat. So more of the chicken, turkey, and then like number 2 says seafood. Number 3, low carb veggies, spinach, broccoli, cauliflower, zucchini. You can go on Google and just Google low carb fruits and vegetables and proteins while you're at it. Eggs are fantastic. You can do up to 3 eggs a day. I know research over the years is back and forth. One day the American Heart Association says they're great. The next day they're going to kill you. The next day they're good for you again. But really up to 3 eggs per day is totally fine. And they do have a lot of health benefits. Nuts and seeds, almonds, chia seeds, pumpkin seeds. I go to Costco and buy the big bags and containers of pistachios and almonds and walnuts. I keep them at my clinic so I can grab them throughout the day. They're healthy fats. They hold you over. I always keep them in the car as well, so I can just kind of reach over when I'm commuting between my home and my office, which is about a 30-minute drive. And just 100% recommend the nuts and seeds. Cheese is fine in small amounts. When you're losing weight, I would not go crazy with the dairy. Also, dairy can promote inflammation with a lot of individuals, so you want to be a little cautious with it. Avocados, enough said, they're amazing. If you like avocados, go for them. I know some people are allergic to them, but for those that are not allergic to avocados, they're wonderful. Healthy oils, olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, berries. I always talk about eliminating fruit for a period of time when losing weight because of the sugar content. But berries are very low glycemic. Blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, they are a safe fruit to consume. And then dark chocolate. So chocolate's amazing if you like chocolate. But try to go for the dark chocolate that has at least 70% cocoa. And I will put another caveat out there. Dark chocolate can have higher amounts of caffeine. And long time back, I have a buddy that's a pilot for Southwest Airlines, and he's based out of Houston. And he brought my wife and I some chocolate from his favorite chocolate place there. And so I binge ate one night before bed. I think I had 4 or 5 1-ounce chocolate squares, forgetting that each square has about 25 milligrams of caffeine. And I think it was 2:15, 2:30 in the morning, I finally fell asleep after going to bed like at 9:30. So it was a rude awakening on the caffeine part. So what do studies actually reveal about low-carb diets? In a 12-month study conducted by the New England Journal of Medicine, participants on a low-carb diet lost an average of 13.6 pounds, while those on a low-fat diet lost an average of 4.6 pounds. So roughly like a 9-pound difference. A study of 53 overweight women found that those who followed a low-carb diet lost about 8 pounds more on average than those who followed a low-fat diet over 6 months. A study of 119 overweight adults found that those who followed a low-carb diet lost significantly more body weight and more body fat than those who followed a low-fat diet over the course of a year. And then lastly, a meta-analysis of 13 randomized controlled trials found that those who followed a low-carb diet lost significantly more weight than those following a low-fat diet. On average, the low-carb group lost about 8 pounds more than the low-fat group after 1 year. And that's very similar to the first paragraph where it was 13.6 pounds versus 4.6 pounds. Additionally, studies have shown that low-carb diets can lead to significant reductions in belly fat, which is a risk factor for many chronic diseases. And that goes back to the visceral fat. The subcutaneous fat, the jiggly, squishy fat, you can kind of grab and play with. It's the annoying stuff, but it's not necessarily the high-risk fat. That fat around the liver, kidneys, heart, and lungs is the one you have to be most concerned about. So the 5 steps to get started with a low-carb diet. And you can pause this, read them, but research and plan. Like anything in life, sit down, come up with a game plan, but don't make it very complicated. If you need some recipe help, I can provide you with some great healthy recipes. But just maybe find some meal prepping you can do, some protein, some veggies, prepare out, 2-3 days in advance. Go home, clean out your pantry. I tell patients all the time, go home, get rid of all the temptation, Oreos and the Hostess cakes and the cereals. Go donate them to the church, give them to a food pantry. You got to look at it like an alcoholic. If you're an alcoholic, the last thing you want to do is have alcohol in the fridge, liquor in the cabinets. You got to get rid of that stuff. And it's the same thing with the processed food. In my home, we rarely keep ice cream because we just know we're all going to eat it. My wife, myself, the kids. We don't keep soda in the house because I'll probably drink some if it's around me. So I try to eliminate those temptations as much as possible. Start out slow. You don't have to make all these changes overnight. Take it one day at a time, make 1% improvements, but gradually reduce your carb intake to adjust to the low carb lifestyle. Start swapping out the high carb options with the low carb alternatives such as cauliflower rice for white rice or brown rice, zucchini noodles for pasta or some whole wheat pasta, and then almond flour instead of the wheat flour. Number 4, monitor your progress. I mentioned in the last training or the first training, forgot which one it was, but the scale, the body composition scale that I use that you can get on Amazon, the Renpho scale, that gives you your BMI, body weight, muscle mass, visceral fat, subcutaneous fat. So you can track and plot that data over time. You can hop on that scale every day. You can do it once a week. That's really up to you. But it is very, very important to track your progress. And then I would also keep a food journal, even if you half-ass it, pardon my language, but if you're writing everything down, Harvard and the Mayo Clinic have different studies, but you can lose about 50% plus more weight just by writing down what you're doing. 50% more weight just by documenting on a food journal. And then stay hydrated. Carry water with you at all times. The goal is to take your body weight, divide it into, and that's how many ounces of water you should shoot for on a daily basis. Or as the old rule of thumb, 8-ounce glasses. In the next training, I'll go into this in a little bit more detail, but this is the really simple way to think about the foods to eat. If God created it, you can probably eat it. So if it walked on the ground, if it grew from the ground, if it swam in the ocean, flew in the sky, go for it. If it's from a box bag, can, drive-through window, try to stay away from it. But what I would always try to do, have lean protein and veggies on your plate at all times. If you're a vegetarian, you do get protein from plants. I would strongly encourage you to get some extra protein through some protein shakes. I have found over the years, patients who have been vegetarian for long periods of time, vegans, tend to have a lot less muscle mass than those who eat chicken, turkey, seafood, and therefore it makes it more difficult for them to lose weight. But the protein is going to help hold you over hunger-wise and maintain that muscle mass or build muscle mass. Veggies, go crazy with them. That's the one thing you really don't have to worry about unless it's corn, white potatoes, yams. Throw some healthy fats on your plate like we talked about. Limit the amount of fruit, but if you're going to do the fruit, do more of the berries. And then the carb part of it, just get rid of the white stuff. If it's white, I know it tastes good, but it's sugar is what it breaks down into. Stay away from it. Replace the white rice with the brown rice, the white pasta with the whole wheat pasta, sweet potatoes, quinoa, whole wheat tortillas. Those are the things that you want to go for. And Here's the thing, you're going to fail at times, and you're going to fail a lot of times sometimes. It's just going to happen. And I think people give up so easily just in culture in general, but they'll start out on a nutritional program, and the second they mess up or they have a date night or celebrate a birthday, they feel like they've ruined everything, and you haven't. That's just a lie from the enemy. You have not ruined everything. When you mess up, whatever, move on with your life, get back at it the next day. And I like this quote from Winston Churchill: "Success is not final, failure is not fatal, it's the courage to continue that counts." Those who are successful, they'll tell you they screwed up a lot of times, but they just didn't give up. Or you can be like the majority of the population and wallow in your pity and make excuses. So just keep going. So the next training will be one of my favorite trainings. This is how, or one of the reasons why we have such huge success in our weight loss clinic with people not just losing the weight, but maintaining the weight loss long term. We have found a super simple, effective way that doesn't require you to stare at recipe guides and meal planners when you can incorporate the 80-20 principle. So check that out in tomorrow's training. I do encourage you, if you have not watched the first two trainings, you got to go back, watch those first two trainings, watch them in order. I'm shooting these in a specific order on purpose, so go back, watch those. And if you have questions, please let me know in the comments down below. But tune in tomorrow for the 80-20 principle for weight loss. See you then.